Hey, turn down for what? Hey, what's up, people? It's the Hood Mystic representing www.hoodmystic.com. Full Moon and Gemini video. Long anticipated. Something that I have actually been researching for a while, but I couldn't really produce any content because the research had to be experienced. So experience in Gemini, preparing for this Gemini, and then once I could understand it and speak it, then I had to kind of write it in long form. So be sure to check out www.hoodmystic.com for the full moon and Gemini video, which probably is more important, and which we try to drive the focus to, because I feel like that's something that that's something that I do well. And so just make sure you read the article, make sure you understand what I'm trying to say in that article, and if there's something within the article that you're like, I don't really understand when you say this, then email me at hoodmystic@gmail.com, because ultimately that's the purpose of the study and breaking it down, and so people can understand it and incorporate it and apply it into their lives. Because when you speak of Gemini and you speak of the shadow and you speak of everything that the energy speaks to, it could go either way, and hopefully it's going in the best, most wonderful, most prosperous way possible in your personal life and all endeavors and everything that you're experiencing. And if you are going through some dark times, which is an aspect of Gemini, which is an aspect of the moon, you can kind of get out of it by understanding this alternate reality, if you want to come into another sense of the word. And so below I have kind of like a little infograph of cusp. What does the cusp mean, and why do I bring up the cusp? Well, generally, I'm born, I said generally, but as a matter of fact, I'm born on the cusp. My birthday is at 0 degrees Virgo. This full moon is at 0 degrees Sagittarius. The sun is going to be at Sagittarius, and the moon is going to be at 0 degrees Gemini. And the time of it is actually on the cusp as well. It's going to actually happen at midnight. So that's the reason, another emphasis on the cusp and understanding the changing of the guard, or the changing of a particular state based upon the type of energy that you're dealing with, or the energy that you're understanding about yourself and your experience. And then you're dealing with a full moon. So we're dealing with the revelation, and we're dealing with the manifestation. We're dealing with an illumination. And so just want to look at the chart and kind of point out some things, and then kind of go through the article and just explain, basically the article gives certain inflections and certain background and certain root understandings to this compilation. And hopefully you got your notes and you're taking notes and you're understanding this information for yourself. That's the purpose of this channel. The channel is purely educational, and if it's not the time for you to be educational, or you're not trying to really learn something and you trying to, you need to come back to it, feel free to come back to it. The beautiful part is that it's on YouTube, so it's available 24/7 at your full disposal. And so this is really of value. This information really is of value, so I just want to talk about it. So this full moon ultimately is ruled by Jupiter and Mercury. And Jupiter and Mercury is providing us the opportunity of new opportunities and new ways to expand ourselves, expand the way that we communicate, expand the way that we trade, expand the way that we ultimately focus and generate revenue, generate income. But ultimately it could be Okay, the area is expansion. That's what I meant to say. So Jupiter and Mercury is expanding. And so the trick with understanding expansion is that you can expand big things and great things, but you can also expand trauma. You can also expand sadness. You know, from a mountain can grow a molehill in that regards. So, and then, you know, the moon is in a space where it is at the cusp of Gemini. And so the cusp of Gemini is like the realization or the ultimate understanding of Gemini. And so the ultimate understanding of Gemini is the concept of duality. And if you understand astrology, you can break it down into the realms of life. Aries is being born. Taurus is an idea of you. Gemini is supposed to represent your split or your twin or your dualistic nature. And then understanding it. The reality is that Gemini is not really promoted in culture. We kind of stunt our growth. Even when you think about it at a chakra level, we stunt our growth at a sexual level. We stunt our growth at an individual level. And then when we see things, I was having a conversation and this person was telling me about the visions that they have and the places that they've seen and the things that they've gone through meditation. And the question was, you know, what is actually real? Everything that you experience is a reflection or a mirror to your energy, because I can't see it. You can see it and you can know it, right? But the trouble lies in when we trying to see ourselves as this individual and not see ourselves as our vision, see ourselves as our focus, see ourselves as our goals, see ourselves as like, you know, I'm on the path. And if you see yourself as on the path, it don't really matter where you at. It don't really matter where you came from. Because you on the goal, you on the path. And so the sun in Sagittarius is that initiation to the path. It is the cusp of the path. And the moon in Gemini is the realization of duality. So what is duality? Duality is life. You know, the thing of night, it needs the day to relieve it. The thing about beautiful days, it needs bad snowy days to relieve it while it recuperates. It's never just beautiful days. Even when you're in the tropics, you got to deal with hurricanes and stuff like that. So the reality of duality exists where we're at in a space of mind control. We want every day to be sunny, and we don't understand the patterns of waning, waxing, giving, taking, are playing this thing. And that's just a universal level. Then on a personal level, duality is this individual person that you see in front of me, and then my shadow or my soul or my unconscious or my hidden being that is within me, but it is large, it is massive. It's unseen, but it can be manifested through my voice and my actions in many different ways. Does that make sense? And I could deal with my shadow in a way of hatred and scared and fear because I don't want to start a YouTube page. I'm afraid how people going to look at me on YouTube. Right? A lot of people have that fear, like, you know what I'm saying? And my thing is, shit, if I can have a semi-successful YouTube page where I'm satisfied with its results, and I've dealt with lower self-esteem that runs, you know, probably from here to Jupiter. So it's a reality that one could include this shadow in their way of life, in their speech, in their actions, and be Gemini and move forward. But if you are stuck on an individual level and you doing everything that your mama wants you to do, your daddy wants you to do, you answering to them low key, your kids want you to do, your husband wants you to do, your wife wanted you to do, then you kind of stuck in this individualistic space and everything is a block because your spirit, your soul, your shadow may interject on that at any time. And there's nothing that you could do about it. An example, as I'm going through like my mental files as I'm preparing for this video, it's been plenty of times and plenty of people that you've seen in situations that there is nothing that you can do about it. They are in vulnerable, fucked up situations, whether it be from age, injury, unfortunate sickness, disease. It's just like, damn, that's fucked up. And that's why when I'm in good health, when my family is in good health, I'm thankful and I'm grateful, and that's all the fuck I need. Everything else from that point is just extras. Cause I know the perishability, the fragility of human life. So any moment, any space and time, I'm thankful. But then at a certain time, it's this energy though that exists, and this energy that exists is found in Gemini. That's why we can find all resolutions and all answers to our problems if we stop thinking that every motherfucker is out this bitch on some light shit. If you understand that it's some dark shit and it's expected and the idea is to balance it and infuse it within your damn self, then you become part of the solution as opposed to pointing out the problem in others, because every person that you see perpetually doing something negative, that could be you based upon your upbringing or the things that you've been desensitized to, or the mind control you've been at, or the prison cells that you've been locked in for no reason other than, you a male and you black and you hanging around a certain amount of people because your mom live in a certain neighborhood. Has nothing to do with your soul, but then again, it has everything to do by us pointing the finger or judging and not processing the shit that's going on with us. And so a lot of it is shadow projection, is what I'm trying to say. If you're not fully in tune to your shadow and your shadow work, then shadow projection is one of those things that happen during the full moon in Gemini. Or what I like to call shadow realization, is where you take all of your trauma, you take all of your pain, and that shit don't define you. That shit power you through some shit. And then the problem be like, damn, I had a good life, so I can't really tap into this energy. Well, then good. Like, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, Gemini is a crossroad, is an understanding. And it's a real understanding of duality. And opposing Sun and Sagittarius on the cusp of a path is like, what is you taking with you? Who is you taking with you? Who is this person that you taking with you? So many times I get readings from people and they want to get readings about, should they move XYZ? Right? They be like, should we move to a place like California or whatever? And I'm just like, who is that person that you taking with you though? Like, it don't really matter where you go or the places that you move. Oh, I just gotta move out of this city. It's really about you. And so the Sun in Gemini is like, kind of like, okay, if I move to a certain place, it'd be better. But that's not really an opposing thought. An opposing thought, bringing opposing thought, making opposing thought whole, is a thought that may be abstract. That, okay, I need to work on myself. And working on myself is going to bring about that path. As opposed to thinking that that path is the thing that's going to heal me. Kind of a difference, but that's kind of working with the Sun oppose the Sun oppose the Moon. Sorry. So just understanding just this whole energy, understanding duality, understanding that your left hand and your right hand work together for the same purpose. They work for the same body. Your left foot and your right foot, even though they're oppositions, if they walk towards the same direction, it's easier to walk somewhere with 2 feet than it is for 1 foot. It's easier to hold some shit with 2 hands than it is for 1 hand. So it's very much important to understand the power of working together, the power of unifying oppositions, especially with a full moon in Gemini, which is oppositional within itself. It's identifying and pinpointing, what is opposition, what is duality. And then at the same time, it's like, consciousness and the realization of me being conscious or me being woke is the realization that I have an energy, that I have a spirit, that I have a soul, that sometimes the world gets a little bit much. I may feel a little weak. I may feel a little tired. I may feel a little overworked. You know what I'm saying? I may feel like, it's a little much. And then I go into my soul. And then I get this burst of energy, and then I'm back on top of it again. And this has happened, time after time after time. Whenever I think I got a lot on my plate, more shit get added to my plate, and I find a different way to handle myself and a better way to organize myself to handle the shit that's on my plate. And I could not do this with my mind. I could not do this with my mouthpiece. I could not do this no other way but by tapping into that shadow energy, because the reality of me is that I've been through some shit that was very painful, that was really hurt, that was really traumatic. And so in my mind, this is what I'm thinking, right? I must be preparing. I must be going through some good shit later in life for me to be struggling the way that I was struggling, even if I was my own worst enemy, even if it was me making the mistakes. Like, even I know consciously I'm making these mistakes and there's no excuse for these mistakes, but that's part of the shadow. That's part of, realizing a dark day so you can understand a sunny day. Now I'm in a space where I've seen so much pain and trauma and ancestral generational curses and things of that nature manifest, that now it's like I have to sit on top of that shadow. That shadow has to run through me. And sometimes it's never, the question is about shadow work that you get a lot of times when you talk about it. It's like, when is shadow work finished? Never. It's never finished. As long as you see like this part right here, as long as that shadow exists, I exist. And I'm moving and embodying it. That shadow is boosting me. And I'm not the only one with the shadow. I'm just using me as an example. So hopefully when I'm speaking and I'm explaining this astrology, you are finding yourself in it and you taking notes and you engaged in it moment by moment. So moving forward, we're going to talk about what's the pinnacle of this full moon and the transit that kind of speaks to it, where it's a T-square with Mars. And then we have a grand trine with the Sun conjunct Jupiter, Chiron, and the North Node. Last week we discussed this energy, but we're going to touch on it again briefly. This grand trine is what I call a alchemist grand trine. And it's just more or less speaking to the same energy, where Chiron is at in the 28th degree of Pisces, which speaks to abundance, the same way that I spoke to earlier, where Jupiter represents expansion. Abundance is the same energy. You can have an abundance of pain. You can have an abundance of regret. You can have an abundance of, I'm not saying my truth. You can have an abundance of that. And that's representing as healing. That's representing as, the opposite of what Chiron is supposed to be doing. And if it's at a space of healing, if it represents healing and it's at a space of abundance, then we should welcome in the energy of an abundance of healing. it's only right. But generally, people are not thinking on that level. So that's a point that I would like to speak to. Dealing with the North Node in Cancer is the realization of our soul group. And so hopefully you've been sparking new conversations with people out the blue. Hopefully you've been invited the idea of new friendships and things of that nature. And maybe it's somebody you need to open up to. And astrologically, there's just a lot going on in the oppositional force and the square force that your human understanding of what's happening is confusing. So if you have a new relationship and you have a new build, and it feels good, and the vibe is right, and it's just like, it feels good. The thing that's blocking that might be your human intellect. Like, well, I don't really know this person, or I haven't really worked on my trauma and shit like that, and I don't want to, whatever. But if you open to it and the vibe is right, this is what this North Node in Cancer is all about. You connecting to your soul tribe. People that you really connect with, people that you really vibe with, and people that you really gonna move forward with. What I like about the North Node is that it moves backwards, but to me, it really moves forward. I don't know. It just seems that way. Maybe I'm just because I'm backwards, and anything backwards is natural to me. Which is interesting. I'm speaking about Gemini and crisscross, and crisscross representing that twin energy, even though they wasn't like twins, they represented a twin energy in crisscross, and they wore their clothes backwards. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I got a channel from the dude that died from crisscross, which now that I think about it, he kind of kicked off this whole study, but this was like back when I got that channel not that long ago, probably like a month ago. And, you know, it got me into like the Orisha of the week, which is the Hero twins, but I'll get to that anyways. But just in general, but I went off on a tangent, but let me get back on point. So yeah. And also the sun in conjunct Uranus, which is something that we need to kind of really talk about, even though I kind of talked about it earlier, where the sun conjunct Jupiter, first and foremost, knows exactly where it wants to go. And generally, there's a lot of promise in the path and art. Like, say, for instance, you get a good idea and you know your life is about to change and you really got to change. That's going to elicit a certain type of fear. So it's best to really understand that, like, your problems aren't your problems so much anymore. Even the position that the sun is in and the 0 degree of Sagittarius speaks to relief. You know. And even though the position of the moon isn't exalted and it's not like in the best place for the moon, even when like positions that happen, like where it's squares and oppositional forces, I feel that these are the videos that are the best videos because at least it's pointing to a problem that a person may be having. If everything is everything, then, you know, it's hard to tell people shit when they got their shit going on. It's real easy to deal with a person and build with a person if they going through some shit. And not to say that, you know, I wish that every placement is a good placement, but the idea of the moon in Gemini is a kick in the ass towards dualism. So to get that clarity, to get that purpose, to align with that path, right? Because I may be speaking on it and it's like, well, I don't know where my path is. I don't know what I want to do, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm like, do you have a shadow? Do you have any pain? Do you have any trauma? All right, that's what you need to work in. That's what you need to focus in. And that's really effort. And that's in this kind of clarity and realization that, you know, the twin exists, or, you know, the idea of a second self. Like, man, a good movie to understand this concept in full concept and like this space and time, like it really hits home on exactly what's happening in the world. A good movie is Another Earth. You're just gonna have to find it online somewhere. But yeah, that's a really good movie. I don't know if it's on Netflix or anything like that, but you know, it's an independent movie, but it really speaks to the idea of a universe A and a universe B in another world being projected in this world and that other world representing your higher self. So if you made mistakes on this planet, then the fact that you made mistakes on this planet, it's another alternate universe where you didn't make those mistakes. Like the mistakes that you made on this planet was for your higher self to kind of learn some shit or get better. And then it'll come a point, a cusp, where that higher self and that fucked up self come into one. And the movie actually ends on a cusp. Like you don't know what happens. You just see the lady and her higher self come one face to face, and then the movie's over. So, you know, beyond this point, we get to see how that movie plays out when we fully engage and deal with our higher self. Because the reality of Gemini, the reason why it's so hard to understand, the reason why it's so difficult to really process, or really why it took so long to write this video, at least for me, that's why it's kind of hard to find any text on Gemini that makes sense, at least for me, is because you really have to incorporate shit that you don't like. And who wants to incorporate shit that you don't like? It's like drinking this tea. It's very bitter. It got wormwood in it. It got a whole bunch of shit in it that's not, you know, tasty. But it gives me mental acuteness, awareness, deep empathy, like psychic empathy. Like it's powerful. But it tastes like shit. And so that's kind of like Gemini. I need it. I survive off of it. It really has propelled me in life. It gives me an edge, you know. And I can't even tell you what's in it. My wife makes it for me, but, you know, she knows what she needs to get from the store or whatever the case may be. But, you know, that's really understanding. I just use that as an example of really understanding Gemini in a sense. And I'm not talking about Gemini people. I'm talking about Gemini as an energy. And so as we discuss Gemini as an energy, we'll talk about that in the Orisha of the week. But for the Nakshatra of the week, starting to kind of talk about Vedic astrology in a way where I think is kind of interesting and it's not pulling away from anything that I've already been talking about. Even critique the Kritaka Nakshatra is actually pinpointing of where the moon actually is, where the moon is in a space of Aries and Taurus in Vedic astrology. And this is speaking to a fire energy that exists on the planet. So, and that fire is, if you think about it in a sense of rising to the top, like heat always rises to the top, right? That's what we're talking about. And if your individual self has dreams and purpose and things of that nature, this is the energy to really work with. Because we all got a purpose. We all got a plan. And if we don't know it, it's a lot of clarity that comes involved in knowing what your individual purpose is. And generally, we can't follow the leader. So, you know, the hardest thing about consciousness sometimes is where you can find good advice. You can find good counsel. A lot of counsel. But that ain't the work. The work ain't finding a guru. The work ain't finding somebody to listen to be like, you know, oh, I love him. This nigga deep and da-da-da-da-da. If anything, he is teaching you how to be that for yourself. If anything, you know, she or he, you know, it's not about, we ain't coming to this thing. We ain't logging to YouTube to, you know, find the newest, hottest astrology spitter, right? we came into this thing to kind of help ourselves and realize ourselves. So hopefully you find the people that bring that out of you. And it don't even got to be on an astrology level. Like, it's people on YouTube that'll teach you how to be a better carpenter. You know what I'm saying? To teach you how to be a better singer, you know, teach you how to hit them high notes better. Like, it's all different types of things that help you. Teach you how to play the piano. But ultimately, you know, this energy is good for burning and purifying negativity. And people always like, you know, how do we work within the chakras and things of that nature? I'm just saying, like, if you're doing rituals or spells or meditations and things of that nature, you know, just use it as a point of reference. Like, what are some of the things that you want to burn and purify away? This is a good time to put that shit on the surface and let the sun and the moon illuminate and burn it away. It's a lot of shit that we done been through, you know, and I can't reiterate that, and I can't stress that enough. It's a lot of shit that we done been through. And the fact of the matter is, it ain't about that we done been through it. It's the fact that we could burn and purify and get rid of that negativity. That's the reality, you know. And if we're ready to do that, put it on display, put it out there, you know, put it out there to get rid of, you know. Stop living with it, stop holding on to it, stop thinking that it's of value to you because you holding on to it. That ain't really no superpower. That's really your kryptonite, you know. And it's just like, it's very simple, but it's hard to really speak to everybody in this way, because, you know, pain is one of those things that people wear like a badge of honor. It's like one of those things, and, you know, everything is all good, you know, because, you know, the beard is popping, you got the gray sweats on, and, you know, all of that. But he starts speaking his truth and things of that nature, and it starts to trigger some pain. It's like, get out of here. Take you and your gray sweats. Get out my life. And it's just like, damn, when you ain't know me, you just seen these gray sweats. It was all love and peace and all these positive vibrations, and let me twist your dreads with cocoa butter. Now I'm telling you about myself, or you know some things about me that may not be too light. It might be a little dark. But as we were talking about Gemini, dark is a reality of light. You wouldn't even know what light was if dark didn't exist. They work together. They balance each one out. And so the cards of the day really speak to manifestation in a sense that's very beautiful if you really are in tune. If you really want to manifest some stuff and you really want to get to a point where it's like, okay, from point A to point B, right? This is the perfect time for that. You know, we got, you know, where the moon is, the deacon at the moon is ruled by Jupiter. And where the sun is ruled by Mercury. And the tarot card, the Eight of Wands, where the sun is at, speaks to swiftness, speaks to speed. But where the moon is interference. And interference to me shows up as like those doubts, that shame, that guilt, that embarrassment. And then it's like, you know, Hood Mystic, I want to do all of these great things. And then you don't hear from him in 2 years. Like, damn, bro, what happened? I was in a funk. They'd be like, damn. You know, that's what's important to me, to kind of like show up every day. Even like in this space and time where my health ain't 100%. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm still good. And it's still not enough to stop me. And, you know, people going through the same thing at me, they completely debilitated, you know. But, you know, I'm prepared. And also to a level where there are going to be difficult things that happen to you. And really tapping into this shadow is more or less where a lot of people is kind of like, you know, what do I do for protection? I need spiritual protection. Like, what's a good spiritual protection? Like, I feel like that energy, I hear that a lot lately. like it's something that people think about. But, you know, we all got unlimited spiritual protection when we deal with our shadow. Because, you know, the reality is the worst has already happened to us. And at some point, we have to begin to project a new reality. And a new reality comes upon the reality that we experienced some fucked up shit in the past. And not to say that we over it, to say that we healing from that shit, to say that we processing that shit, to say that you're not about to trigger me with that shit, that I'm tapped into my ancestral energy, I'm tapped into my shadow, and I'm ready to manifest some shit at a fast, pristine rate. Whatever it is. And the reality of this energy is that it's going to manifest whether you like it or not. That's why it could get a bad rap. Because a lot of people ain't in tune to their shadow. They run from their shadow. So, hopefully you ain't that type. And so, it's a lot to incorporate. It's a lot to understand. It's a lot to build on. And, you know, we all have a particular opportunity to really raise ourselves to a higher level. Dealing with this full moon and dealing with this twin energy and understand what this twin energy is. You know, the twin archetype is pre-existent of all. Like, even when I talk about astrology and I'm talking about Gemini, the reason why we're talking about Gemini is because Gemini is an energy that has existed way before astrology. Astrology is simply incorporating Gemini into it. Like, you know, it is a primal energy, you know, because the twin energy represents our mother and our father. And from all life begat, it started with two people, you know. And that's just the root of twin energy. But from twin energy, it expands. And hopefully you in a space of understanding your twin energy and your humanity ain't blocking it. Because, you know, this channel, man, it be only super grown people on my channel. So I can be talking about, like, super grown shit. Like 30 plus. Or even, there's some younger people on here, but even the younger people, they be low-key old with they shit too. Like, they done had long lives too. So, the reality is, when it comes to love and it comes to twin energy, we can't be acting like our twin flame ain't our twin flame. Like, we gotta get up on that. We gotta speak to that. We gotta understand that. And we gotta move forward in that. And if it's some human shit that's blocking you, or some human shit that's stopping you, then so be it. But understand that's what it is. And you got to rectify that human shit. Even when you speak to this full moon, it's much more of an energetic, mental full moon. Ain't too much earth in this full moon. It's a lot of emotions and things of that nature. Water, you know, on the square side. But we got fire and air. And we got a opportunity to mentally raise up. And the thing of it, like I said earlier, we think that going physically is going to embody something when that ain't going to really embody shit. If we can adopt it mentally, if we can adopt it emotionally, then we can fully embody this energy. The twin energy, the Marasa, the Ibaje, the Hero twins, they all represent the energy that you was incarnated down here with. And if this conversation seems weird or you don't understand it, it's because it's not really spoke to or taught or even explained that way. Imagine how much power people, if you just knew for a fact that you had a shadow or a twin energy that you had to deal with and interface with, that can empower you and better your life instantly, fast. How crazy would that would be? You know, the realization of twin energy would drive churches out of business, because then it's like, everybody has a little piece of God with them. You don't gotta find no church. But even within the church, there's God and the devil. That's twin energy. These two have to exist. Like, if the devil didn't hurt you, then it would be no healing for Jesus to do. So these two need each other. Something bad need to happen for you to call on Jesus. So, ultimately, you want to get out of that. I've been going through a lot of bad stuff, so I need something good to happen, and just fully understand that bad things happen, and the good things that happen after it, or the good things that happen before it, and really mastering this duality. Instead of just, bumping your head every day and looking for a Band-Aid. You don't have to necessarily bump your head. And even in relationships, even going forward in commerce and really furthering yourself and things of that nature, it's so much of it found in working together and understanding interdependence. And when I say working together, I don't mean every one person do everything for another person. Interdependence is a level of, working together for real. And really understanding roles and responsibility and tasks and able to show up. So many times I talk to people and it's like, oh, I want to do this. All right, what's up? Oh, I got to do something else. I holler at you after I do something else. All right. So it's very important to be independent in that sense, and independent, interdependent. Because even if you want to be completely independent, you're going to have a team around you. So independence is tied up into interdependence, no matter how you look at it. And so this full moon is a realization of that tribal sense of, coming together and, where's your unity at and things of that nature. And you can walk into that, or you can be like, I really don't like people. I like being by myself. I'm going to keep going along this shit by myself. And that's cool too. But for people who tired of that, people who want to do something different, this is so much of an opportunity. So much of a opportunity to tap into some real magic, to tap into some real power, to tap into something that's not vain, to tap into something that's really going to get you somewhere of true purpose. But, the squares that's associated with it could also take your mind out of this shit too. So it's such an important time and such a powerful time for the individual that I would just hope that the individual would take some time to, stop moving so fast, especially since the holidays and things of that nature. Really take these next couple of days, not to celebrate or anything like that, but to really in tune with the shadow. And that's possibly why, the holidays actually fall on right as this energy cusp into a state where you probably could be around a whole bunch of people that you don't have nothing in common with and going nowhere with. So hopefully you understand the idea of family during this full moon, and be around people who are headed your right direction, as opposed to people who you ain't going to see for another 364 days. But ultimately, we do what we want to do, but just understanding the energy and understanding, Gemini. It could be a lot of, shadow projection at the Thanksgiving parade. It could be one of them, damn, I wish I would have thought about that video where they were sitting for Thanksgiving dinner and he started just talking shit about the sun, and the sun just flipped over the whole table. Like, it could be a lot of those situations. especially you add in some alcohol and things of that nature. It could be a nice and turned up Thanksgiving. So, be prepared for that, because it's not every Thanksgiving that it falls on the cusp of a full moon in Gemini. So if you're in a situation where it's like people got some held up shit, be sure to be prepared for that this Thanksgiving. Don't be like, that totally caught me off guard. Be like, nah, I heard the Mystic say that shit in his video that people was going to be on some bullshit on these Thanksgiving get-togethers. So, that's definitely about to go down. That's why I'm going to probably be chilling, for real. I do the opposite of eating during Thanksgiving. I honor my ancestors with the peace pipe, call it smokesgiving, and give offerings to the ancestors. I don't partake in the turkey, but because I ain't no turkey at all. That made me lose my train of thought. Oh yeah, actually Thanksgiving I got a live video. I'm not going to do a daily energy reading tomorrow, but I am going to be live with Sangoma and talk about this energy a little more, probably have a little bit more of a back and forth about this energy and different ways that this energy can manifest. So if you want to have a sit down, talk down with me, be sure to holler at us on the Ringing Stone Network. Just type in ringing, like the cell phone is ringing, Stone Network at Blog Talk Radio. The phone number is there. This is going to be tomorrow from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if this energy concerns you, you have more than enough of an opportunity to have a one-on-one build up about this energy, and you can tell some people about it if they like, shit is crazy. I need some insight, tune into that, because we gonna really dive deep into this energy as much as we can dive deep in for 2 hours. But I want it to be like an overload. I want us to overload the phones and really break down Blog Talk Radio's network. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it gotta be some recognition sent to the Ringing Stone Network. My man that had 7 Bomar on his channel, Jewel Pokrum, and for the new moon, we doing a big thing, like a whole big black astrology new moon kickoff with Sister Myra. And I don't even know if y'all hit the Sister Myra, but she's a big deal. Just Google her on YouTube if you must. She been on Black Magic 363, but she's an OG, and so I'm actually kicking that thing off on the new moon, so that's going to be super, super big. So a lot of good things is happening with us at the Ringing Stone Network. And beyond that, this full moon energy is very popping. But make sure you get some rest and relaxation and enjoy your family as always. But ultimately, do that shadow work. And don't be shadow projecting. I know I discussed a lot of information, and if you need to kind of double down on this information, be sure to check the link in the description for the full moon video. And if I said new moon instead of full moon, you're gonna have to forgive me. Like I said, my health is not 100%, but I hope that I was clear enough, I was lucid enough, and that everybody was able to take from this. That was a stream of consciousness, man. And man, I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. That everything about this shit is not easy as it looked. Like, this video is not easy. If it looked easy or anything, like, it was very difficult to make all of this be tangible and lucid and conscious and coherent. Very much of a hard labor of love that I put into this. So if you took anything from this, if you leveled up, if you hit the lottery after watching this video, be sure to donate to the PayPal, man, because I did this for people, and I could have kind of been spending time with like my wife and my family, but I felt like this was kind of important, and I'm not asking for anything. I'm just saying if it moves you and if it grooves you to donate, the links are in the description. You could do so much as donating $1 a month to my Patreon page and get hella shit in return. Patreon fam is the code to get like a discount. So you can use that code for discounts on Columbian Exchange. That's kind of my clothing portal. I'm looking for artists to kind of get involved with this idea of clothing, because I got like some ideas for clothing, but I need like an artist to really team up and really kind of pop open this clothing thing. But I've been doing it dolo, you know, best as I can by myself, but I'm always looking for creatives and visionaries, anybody that's down to market and, you know, try to get this money. I got a whole money scheme tied to these clothes, so anybody that's trying to be involved or participate in that, be sure to email me at hoodmystic@gmail.com. But I'm not about to talk any longer. I've said enough. Be sure to re-listen to this video and make sure you listen to the article. With that being said, I'm signing off. Appreciate everybody for listening, for being engaged and commenting, whether it was trolling or not. I appreciate the vibration and the energy. Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful evening and guess you say happy holidays. Peace.